The Comedy MX Entertainment Channel spotlights unique videos found nowhere else. Visit world fairs, see atomic explosions, the golden age of trains, rare comedy features. You can even see the USA in your Chevrolet. It starts with a big capital E that stands for enjoy and never ends. So indulge your passions and binge watch all night.
Age was born. There is no denying that since that moment, the shadow of the atom bomb has been across all our lives. All men of goodwill earnestly hope that a realistic control of atomic weapons can and will be achieved. Meanwhile, good sense requires that all of us prepare for any eventuality. But wisdom demands, too, that we take time to understand this force. Because here, in fact, is the answer to a dream as old as man himself. A giant of limitless power at man's command. And where was it science found that giant? In the atom, a particle so infinitely small that it takes over 100 billion atoms to make up the head of a pin. Just as other millions and quadrillions of atoms are the tiny building blocks which make up everything in the world. Ships, and shoes, and sealing wax, and cabbages and kings. Although no one has ever seen an atom, scientists have learned a great deal about how they behave, and there are widely accepted theories as to what they're like. Let's start by meeting a leading authority on the subject, Dr. Atom. Now, observing the professor himself, we can see that his structure resembles, in many ways, something almost as vast as the atom is small. The solar system. And there are certain similarities. Here is the center with electrons in surrounding orbits. But whereas the planet's movement of electrons is slightly different, there are other differences, too. Hey, hold it! Thank you. Now, the solar system together is electrical. The electrons, which are negative, are attracted by the protons, which are positive, and vice versa. But here in the nucleus are other particles with no electrical charge, called neutrons. Very important characters, too, as we shall see. And equally important when it comes to atomic energy is what scientists call the atom's binding force. It's a kind of cosmic glue holding the nucleus together. This, then, is a single atom, but certainly not all atoms are alike. There are, in nature, more than 90 basic elements, which is science's term for families of atoms. To scientists, the atoms of the individual atom families, or elements, are identified by number. That is, the number of protons, or positive charges, in their nucleus. And they vary all the way from hydrogen, which has just 1 proton, to oxygen with 8 protons, to gold, he's rich with 79, finally on to the heaviest of all natural elements, uranium with 92 protons. Now, within each element, or family of atoms, there can be different members, each one having the same number of protons, but differing in the number of neutrons. The total of an atom's protons and neutrons is its atomic weight. Thus, in natural uranium, we have U-234, U-235, and U-238. These different members of the same element or atom family, science calls isotopes. Some elements, tin for instance, have a great many isotopes. Others, like aluminum, are lone wolves with just 1. Now, most atoms of most elements are content with their lot in life. We speak of them as being stable, but others are busy day and night, being what science calls radioactive. Like radium, throwing off powerful rays along with some of its neutrons and protons, until it actually alters its own nuclear structure and changes to another family, and then to another, until it does become stable at last. This spontaneous changing of elements is called natural transmutation. Its discovery gave men of science an idea. If an atom could change itself, why couldn't man change an atom? Using as bullets the very particles which radium threw off, a noted British scientist bombarded nitrogen and converted it to oxygen. In terms of individual atoms, this is what happened. The radium nucleus threw off an alpha particle consisting of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. One of the protons was absorbed into the nitrogen nucleus, turning it to oxygen. This was artificial transmutation, man changing the elements. From that first experiment, others by the thousands followed as scientists devised ever more powerful particle accelerators, commonly called atom smashers, to transmute more and more kinds of atoms. All scientifically important, but hardly world-shaking. Then, in 1939, some scientists were experimenting with transmutation of uranium. What would happen, they wondered, if they fired a neutron at a uranium nucleus, already the heaviest in nature? Why not try? So they tried. And the result? Nuclear fission. Instead of a minor change, the atom split in 2. Truly a discovery to change the world. For what had happened when the uranium atom split was a kind of double miracle of science. Half of the miracle concerned that binding force we spoke of before, that kind of cosmic glue which holds the atom's nucleus together. We still don't know all about that binding force yet, but we do know it is equivalent to mass. Therefore, we may speak of it as having a kind of weight of its own. Now, the 2 atoms into which a uranium atom splits also have binding force. But for some reason, it takes less of that glue to hold them together, and in the process of fission, a tiny fraction is left over. What happens to it? It explodes as energy, proving Einstein's theory that mass and energy are really the same. But we spoke of a double miracle. To understand the second one, let's slow down that fission 1,000,000 or so times. A single particle starts the reaction, splitting the uranium atom. Here now is the release of energy as heat and blast. Here are powerful rays being given off, similar to X-rays. But here are free neutrons driven out with tremendous speed. And provided there is sufficient U-235 present, what science calls a critical mass, those neutrons bombard other uranium atoms, causing them to split and split still others. The result? A chain reaction. Over 1,000,000 billion atoms exploding within 2 seconds. And the force? It would take Yankee Stadium full of dynamite to equal the energy released in the complete fission of an amount of U-235 the size of a baseball. With this discovery, at the time the free world faced a war for survival, it was little wonder the first thought was a weapon. But how to obtain enough material for even a single bomb? Only a small fraction of natural uranium is the U-235 isotope, which will fission in a chain reaction. And to separate enough U-235 quickly enough seemed all but impossible. But the impossible became reality as industry, labor, science, and the military combined their efforts to build Oak Ridge, where enough U-235 was separated to build the first atomic bomb. At Hanford, Washington, another impossible project proved possible when a huge plant was built for the mass production of the artificial element plutonium. This process involves what may be called the furnace of atomic energy, the reactor pile. Here is a structure or pile of graphite blocks. In the reactor are placed rods of natural uranium containing both U-235 and U-238. As U-235 begins to fission, the graphite slows down the free neutrons, and some of them hit other U-235 atoms, keeping the chain reaction going. But others of those slowed down neutrons hit U-238 atoms, and here's what happens. Remember, we said that U-238 wouldn't support a chain reaction. However, it will capture neutrons from U-235 fission and start a process which converts the U-238 first to neptunium, then to plutonium. And plutonium will fission in chain reaction. Thus, the reactor itself is a source of atomic fuel. Besides producing plutonium, the nuclear reactor makes possible two very important peacetime uses of atomic energy. Remember that the chain reaction process in the reactor creates tremendous heat, which scientists have learned how to control. Thus, a reactor may be substituted in many industrial applications where heat is now provided by coal or petroleum. But such uses in the foreseeable future are limited. For one thing, a reactor pile must be shielded to protect the workers around it from dangerous radiation, and this shielding adds tremendous weight. However, an atomic energy power plant has already proved feasible. The future supplying of electric power to entire cities is far from impossible, while nuclear power in locomotives, submarines, ships, and even very large airplanes may all but revolutionize future transportation on land, sea, and air. But perhaps the most valuable byproduct of the nation's reactor piles is radioactive isotopes. Research has revealed that many elements not naturally radioactive became so when placed in a nuclear reactor. And these isotopes, working as tracers with such measuring devices as a Geiger counter, became invisible detectives, aiding the cause of science in many different fields. In agriculture, isotopes are now used to test such things as the effect of fertilizers on plant growth and the proper timing for their use, helping to assure bigger and better yields from tomorrow's farms. In industry, isotopes have found literally hundreds of new uses, such as the automatic thickness control of sheet aluminum, saving hundreds of man-hours of labor and assuring accuracy never before possible. In the fields of medicine and biochemistry, isotopes are performing near miracles of diagnosis and discovery. With radioactive sodium, doctors are solving more of the seeming mysteries of heart disease and circulatory disturbances. Radioactive phosphorus has been used to locate tumors in the brain and greatly simplify operations for their removal. Iodine-131 finds one of many uses in revealing conditions of the thyroid, and there are many more. New ways of using isotopes are being discovered constantly through the tireless work of modern pioneers in such fields as chemistry, metallurgy, medicine, and biology. Truly, the superpower which man has released from within the atom's heart is not one, but many giants. One is the warrior, the destroyer. Another is the engineer, seeking to provide vast quantities of energy to run the world's machines. Another is the farmer, helping to better feed tomorrow's world. Still another is the healer, helping to diagnose and cure the sick. And the last is the research worker, working on in the fields of pure science to reveal more of the mysteries of the universe. But all are within man's power, subject to his command. On man's wisdom, on his firmness in the use of that power, depends now the future of his children and his children's children in the new world of the atomic age.
Within this universe, there are many natural elements and forces at work. And in his search for truth and the betterment of his lot, man has uncovered gravity, the invisible anchor that keeps him safely bound to Earth, electromagnetic force, which he uses in industry, and atomic power, the explosion of an inconceivably tiny particle of matter, setting off similar explosions in other atoms, the energy of the atom. Scientists have long known about radiation, one of atomic energy's chief characteristics. Today, they can detect the amount of radioactivity present at a given time with many specialized instruments. One of these is the Geiger counter.
Say, what is that clicking?
You must be radioactive. Wait a minute, don't worry. You see, your watch has radiation, but it comes from the paint on the numbers that make it glow in the dark.
Well, what do you know about that? I've been carrying radioactivity around with me and didn't even know it.
Of incalculable aid to man's physical well-being have been the discoveries of medical science in the field of radiation. The most recent medical research in radiation has produced a whole battery of radioactive medicines manufactured at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and sent to hospitals all over the country. Atomic weapons to save lives. And in the field of industry, advances in the use of radioactive substances are constantly benefiting man's search for newer and better methods of production.
And we need every sheet of steel plate at exactly the critical thickness. No more, no less.
How can you get a measuring device sensitive enough to show a variation of 1/10,000th of an inch without stopping production?
We can use radiation.
How?
You station a radioactive substance at this point in the production line and pass the steel over it. Over the steel, you put a gauge to measure the amount of radiation coming through. Now, if the steel plate varies in thickness in one direction or another, the amount of radiation getting through to the gauge will vary, and that gauge will register the change.
Looks as though you're beating it.
But what about the atom bomb?
It has been stated that to speak of atomic energy in terms of the atomic bomb is the same as speaking of electricity in terms of the electric chair. It is true, however, that the energy which gives us the power to heal, the heat and light to make things move and grow, is the same energy released in the explosion of the A-bomb. To state and local governments falls the responsibility for action and cooperation within the limits of their own jurisdiction. The local air raid warden of World War II with his white tin hat will have a new, more specialized fellow worker, the radiological monitor or meter man. His job will be to determine the extent of contamination by radiation in atomic attack. The meter men will probably not use the Geiger counter because it is primarily for sensitive measurements. Their basic instruments of detection will be ion chambers, which accurately measure larger amounts of radiation. In addition, the community civil defense unit will set up attack warning devices, suitable shelter in case of emergency, emergency communication centers, adequate firefighting equipment, hospital and first aid facilities. Every person has heard some of the rumors and old wives' tales of this atomic era.
Who's been giving you this information?
Well, the boys down at the plant...
You know there's a limit to what this A-bomb can do. You asked me if a flash from an atomic bomb could blind everybody. Of course not. If you look directly at the burst in bright daylight, you might not be able to see for a few minutes. At night, it might last for an hour or two. But In either case, it would only be temporary. Now, as for the radiation of the bomb, the chances that it will change your ability to have children, or that it will affect any future children you might have, are less than 1 in a million. Radiation will not make a place uninhabitable forever, possibly temporarily. No, the atom bomb will not blow up the world.
Then what will it do?
The 3 ways in which an atom bomb does its work are no mystery. The first is flash or fire. The second effect is blast. These first 2 effects of the A-bomb are, therefore, but a tremendously magnified version of any simple explosive. It is the A-bomb's 3rd effect that is entirely new to explosives, radiation or radioactivity. But this radiation can be stopped. For example, 6 feet of earth, 3 feet of concrete, or a foot of steel all provide sufficient protection against radioactivity, even very close to the center of explosion. Fire, blast, and radiation. These are the 3 effects of an atomic explosion which endanger man. You are given warning. If there is a designated shelter or a reinforced concrete building available, go to it without delay. But even at home, you can effectively defend yourself.
Elsie, where are you?
I'm closing off the upstairs.
Good. Get down from there as soon as you can. Close all the windows, draw the blinds, and pull the drapes in front of them. That'll keep out fire sparks and glass splinters if the windows break. Close all the doors behind you, too. We've got to make this place practically airtight. Check everything here that might cause fire. Complete coverage is what you're after. The light colors reflect the heat and protect you from flash burns. It's better to wear coveralls because they're loose, and I can take them off and leave them outside in case they become contaminated.
The heavier the cloth, the better the insulation.
Elsie, you'd better pull the drapes on the windows back there. Joe, turn on the radio.
What about Mrs. Canning, the aircraft spotter? Does she have to stay outside in this?
She'll be spotting for planes, all right. And for people like her who have to stay outdoors in an emergency, heavy, loose-fitting, all-white clothing is the best protection.
Follow instructions. Stand by.
Very little time left. Since radiation travels in straight lines, I'd say the way I fix this corner of the basement gives us plenty of wall and earth and material between us and the possible military objective. We're well protected from the window, too. Yes, sir. Even if a bomb blew the house over, we'd have a pretty good chance here in the basement.
The walls can never be too thick. Now, children, I want you to sit down here against the wall. That's it. Now, crouch tight up against it.
Now listen, kids. If they're dropping an atomic bomb, it may go off any second now. Whatever happens, I'll give the signal when it's all right for us to get up. If there's an explosion, we'll wait about a minute after it's all over. Then we'll go upstairs and take a look around, see if it's all right for us to clean up.
This man has made good use of the time given him by warning. With calm and intelligence, he has employed the means of self-defense at his disposal. Thus, every man can greatly increase the chances of bringing his family and himself through any attack unscathed. But this man has an advantage, a well-protected cellar. If there is no basement in the neighborhood, seek shelter on the first floor of the house. An inner room with solid walls, with as many walls as possible between you and the probable target area. Get under a sturdy object, table, desk, bed, close to the wall. If debris should fall, the two will provide good protection. The most important thing is to keep out of line with the windows and to close them up so that broken glass will not fly in. Lie down flat on your stomach. Cover your face with your right arm so that it is protected by your elbow. Grasp the back of your neck with your left hand. But wherever a substantial underground shelter is available, it provides the surest, safest possible protection against atomic attack.
Civil Defense Bulletin. This has been an air burst. All persons attached to civil defense groups report to your post immediately.
Let's go, folks. Elsie, bring the blankets. We'll find out what happened to the windows.
But what about the radiation?
Well, this was an airburst, honey.
If the radiation didn't get to us when the atomic bomb exploded, just about all the dangerous stuff is gone. It went straight up into the air. The terrific heat makes it do that. And I don't think we're close enough to ground zero for the radiation to have even touched us. Elsie, you'd better tack those blankets up around the windows so that we can keep the house warm. I'm going outside to see if the house has been damaged by fire. If we're all right, I'll have to check the neighborhood.
Will you be all right?
If there are any fires, honey, they're just ordinary fires, and we're supposed to help stop them. Children, you better clear up the broken glass and all this debris. All in all, I'd say we've been very lucky around here. Nothing to do now but wait for orders from the authorities and relax. I'd hate to have gone through this without warning.
You are out in the open. Without warning, you are startled by an intense flash of light. You have seconds before the shock wave will hit you, before the debris starts flying. Hit the dirt. Get behind the nearest and best shelter. A ditch, a depression of any kind. But get down, flat on the ground, flat on your stomach. With your right arm covering your face, your left hand grasping the back of your neck. If you're out in the open in a built-up area, dive for the nearest concrete archway, the nearest and best shelter. Cover your mouth and nose with your handkerchief. It will help to keep out any possible radioactive dust. If you are blinded, it is only temporary. With the blast over, get out of the wreckage, remembering to keep as clean as possible. You're inside, perhaps in your own apartment when the flash occurs. You have seconds. Move toward the nearest doorway, corridor, or a stairway, or get under a bed or table, or get behind a couch or other large, heavy object.
Are you all right, Mother?
Yes.
Alice, turn on the radio.
Where's Buddy?
I think he was out playing ball. Mother, pull the drapes and shield the windows with them.
He must have been caught out there in the blast.
Civil Defense Bulletin. This city has just undergone a surprise atomic attack. This was an air burst. Check for fires. Further bulletins are following immediately.
Shouldn't we go out and look for Buddy?
No. He's been hurt. Disaster units will take care of him. If he's all right, he'll come home.
Draw a pan full of water right away, Alice, and keep it covered.
Won't it be radioactive?
No. And don't take too much. Otherwise, you'll pull down the water pressure the firefighters need.
I'd better go out on the fire escape and see whether any fires have been started. Mother, go downstairs and see if old Mrs. Simmons is all right.
Fine, I'll go. But let me know just as soon as you hear what's happened to Buddy. Oh, Buddy's here. He's home.
Buddy, tell me quickly, where were you when the bomb dropped?
I was playing ball at the school diamond. I came home as fast as I could. I ran all the way.
Are you all right? Oh, you're hurt.
School's closer to where the bomb exploded. Mother, get Buddy's clothes off, then take him into the bedroom and have him lie down immediately. Clean up any of the cuts or bruises and bandages.
Boy, it was hot, Grandma. I never felt anything so hot.
Buddy was much closer to the bomb than we were. Do you think he could have been exposed to prompt radiation?
I'm afraid he was in the danger range. He shouldn't have exercised so much, running home after the blast.
Corey, we've got to get him to a doctor.
No, Alice, we're going to follow through, cleaning up the house just as if we hadn't been caught unaware. And as for Buddy, the best way to help radiation sickness is to lie down and rest until you get medical attention. If Buddy has heavy nausea within 2 hours, it means he may have gotten a dose of radiation. I said may. And if he has sickness induced by radiation isn't necessarily fatal, that's when we'll get him medical attention. Now we have work to do.
What can I do?
Oh, any of the food that was out in the open during the blast has to be kept separate from the rest. Then, as soon as we're notified to use the water, wash everything. Cans of food, pots and pans, the sink. But leave anything that you think might be contaminated to be tested later by the radiological crew.
Wouldn't it be best to just get out of the city?
No. If any evacuating is to be carried on, the proper authorities will decide it. We'll be notified and get orders and instructions. Right now, the safest place for us is right here. We're pretty lucky, Alice. Cement apartment house. No fires, not much blast, only a few broken windows. And chances are Buddy will be all right. And if he isn't, doctors can help radiation sickness considerably by using whole blood. Don't worry, darling.
This man, caught unaware, by acting quickly and sensibly, has minimized the danger to himself and his family from the after effects of an atomic airburst. While most Americans need consider only the airburst in their plans for self-defense against the A-bomb, to people living on the shores of large bodies of water, the water burst brings additional danger. In the case of an atom bomb detonated underwater, there is hardly any danger from flash. There is still danger from blast and its resulting debris, but the area of damage is small. But the severe danger is from radiation, lingering radiation. The radiation is trapped in the water, and the heat and blast cause the water to rise. Then it falls, causing mist, which emits radiation wherever it falls.
Civil Defense Bulletin. This has been a water burst. Stay inside or get inside and wait for further instructions from your local civil defense authorities.
We aren't even going to budge for about an hour. After that, we may have to wait another 24 hours before we even think about going outdoors. That radioactive mist will settle on everything, contaminate everything it touches.
The rule is keep away from the moisture. And stay as far away from radioactive mist and water as you can.
That's right, son.
Well, then, we'd better go upstairs and fix the living room windows. They're probably broken, and the moisture will get to us that way.
No, stay put. We've taken every precaution to defend ourselves against radiation already. If we move to unprotected parts of the house now, we may get a bad dose of radiation, so we'll stay put for at least an hour.
What if we were outside, Dad?
Then we'd get inside quickly, and behind enough material that would absorb the radiation before it got to us. Joe, finish stacking this blanket for me, will you?
Sure.
And when you're finished, you'll have to wash your hands thoroughly. I think I got a little breeze just now. A nice, cool breeze of radioactive mist. Now, folks, watch while I give a demonstration of how to defend yourself against lingering radioactivity. First, you remove all the clothing you think might be contaminated. Then you scrub every part of you that you think might be contaminated. Once, twice, and again.
Do you think you've got it bad, Dad?
No, I don't think so, son. But if I have, I'm not going to have it bad for very long. That's the whole idea of this scrubbing. If you get a little radiation, don't let it stay with you long enough for it to build up its dirty work. Because that's one way radiation can make you sick. If a little of it gets to you and stays with you long enough, it can do almost as much damage over a long period of time as one big dose all at once.
If you're radioactive right now, Daddy, does that mean that we can catch it from you?
No, Meg, I've got it all to myself.
Do you think we'll be all right, Jim?
Elsie, we've taken every precaution to lock that radiation out already. If it doesn't get to you right away, it starts to die. It may linger for a while, but it does die. And we can wait it out. We've got all the time in the world.
This man knows that his best defense against lingering radioactivity is patience, calm patience. In a water burst, the odds are with the man who stays put.
But what about the H-bomb?
The hydrogen bomb, though it might be 1,000 times more powerful than the atom bomb, would only cause damage over a radius 10 times as great, and the damage would be similar in kind. Hence, the principles of self-defense against the H-bomb would not change from those of the A-bomb. They would become more vital. Some of the scenes you have just seen have deliberately been made slower in order to bring home to you what precautions might be taken under ideal circumstances. When the alert is sounded, of course, you might not have time to do all of these things. Most important is to take cover in the basement, the center of a building, or in a doorway if you're in the street. Meanwhile, remember that civilian defense is everybody's business. All over the world today, powerful forces are at work for the preservation of international peace. It is the hope of civilization that the harnessed power of the atom will work for the good of mankind.
Dum, beetle dum, dum, deedle-dum-dum, deedle-dum-dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the Turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He'd duck and cover, duck and cover. He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you, duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association. Produced by Archer Productions, Incorporated. Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people, please. Oh, all right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life. That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time. Fire is a danger. It can burn whole buildings if someone is careless. But we are ready for fires. We have a fine fire department to put out the fire, and you have fire drills in your school so you know what to do. Automobiles can be dangerous too. They sometimes cause bad accidents, but we are ready. We have safety rules that car drivers and people who are walking must obey. Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you'll have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you were not ready and did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover like Bert, you will be much safer. You know how bad sunburn can feel. The atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered. Now, you and I don't have shells to crawl into like Bert the Turtle, so we have to cover up in our own way. First, you duck, and then you cover. And very tightly, you cover the back of your neck and your face. Duck and cover underneath a table or desk or anything else close by. In Betty's school, they are talking about the atomic bomb, too. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And her teacher is explaining that there are two kinds of attack, with warning and without any warning. We think that most of the time we will be warned before the bomb explodes, so there will be time for us to get into our homes, schools, or some other safe place. Our civil defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be. You might be out playing at home when the warning comes. Then be sure to get into the house fast, where your parents have fixed a safe place for you to go. If you are not close to home when you hear the warning, go to the nearest safe cover. Know where you are to go, or ask an older person to help you. You know the places marked with the S sign? They're safe places to go when you hear the alarm. If there is a warning, you will hear it before the bomb explodes. But sometimes, and this is very, very important, sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Then the first thing we would know about it would be the flash. And that means duck and cover fast, wherever you are. There's no time to look around or wait.
Be like Bert. When there is a flash, duck and cover, and do it fast. Here are some older boys showing what to do if the flash comes when you are not in the classroom. This is what to do if you should be in a corridor. You duck and cover tight against the wall this way. Remember to keep your face and the back of your neck covered tightly. Try to fall away from windows or doors with glass in them. Then, if the glass breaks and flies through the air, it won't cut you. You might be eating your lunch when the flash comes. Duck and cover under the table. Then, if the explosion makes anything in the room fall down, it can't fall on you. Getting ready means we will all have to be able to take care of ourselves. The bomb might explode when there are no grown-ups near. Paul and Patty know this, and they're always ready to take care of themselves. Here they are on their way to school on a beautiful spring day. But no matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know what to do. Paul covered the back of his head so that he wouldn't be burned, and Patty covered herself with the coat she was carrying. They knew how to duck and cover. They acted right away when the flash came. If they had been at this doorway when the bomb flashed, Paul and Patty would have ducked and covered this way, like this girl. Heavy doorways are a good place to duck and cover. She will be safer, too. Here's Tony going to his Cub Scout meeting. Tony knows the bomb can explode any time of the year, day or night. He is ready for it. Duck and cover. Attaboy, Tony. That flash means act fast. Tony knows that it helps to get to any kind of cover. This wall was close by, so that's where he ducked and covered. Tony knew what to do. Notice how he keeps from moving or from getting up and running? He stays down until he is sure the danger is over. The man helping Tony is a civil defense worker. His job is to help protect us when there is danger of the atomic bomb. We must obey the civil defense worker. We must know how to duck and cover in the school bus or in any other bus or streetcar. Duck and cover. Don't wait. Duck away from the windows fast. The glass may break and fly through the air and cut you. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. This family knows what to do, just as your own family should. They know that even a thin cloth helps protect them. Even a newspaper can save you from a bad burn. But the most important thing of all is to duck and cover yourself, especially where your clothes do not cover you. No matter where we live, in the city or the country, we must be ready all the time for the atomic bomb. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do, duck and cover. The next important thing to do after that is to stay covered until the danger is over. Yes, we must all get ready now so we know how to save ourselves if the atomic bomb ever explodes near us. If you do not know just what to do, ask your teacher when this film is over. Discuss what you could do in different places if a bomb explodes. Older people will help us as they always do, but there might not be any grown-ups around when the bomb explodes. Then, you're on your own.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
Duck and cover. Duck